the beauty of this journey. And it just became so obvious to me, Ilona, coming from a very much a duality awareness, coming into now the non-duality awareness, the shift in my own personal happiness and contentment and just the simplicity. There's all this weight just comes off your shoulder and you are just present in the now. There's no going back or forward or this or maybes, or it's just everything is right now, now, now. And it takes away all the personal conflicts and the emotions, all of the things which are causing disharmony. Everything is right here now. The joy of living right now.
Hello, Sahayak.
Hello, Ilona. Nice to be with you again.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come back and talk to me some more. And I have to say that the first recording we did, there was a technical difficulty, and all I got was the audio, so I could not use the video. And I'm so pleased to introduce you to Awakening Now podcast in both formats now. So anyone who would like to listen to the first conversation where we go in depth about Sahayak's story and what happened and all these interesting things. So please just go on the link below in the description. There is a podcast and it's available in audio. And today we continue this conversation, and it's going to be awesome because Sahayak agreed to share his awakening process with us in a form that came through as poems. So we are going to indulge in that and explore together. And it's for everyone. It's for the seekers. It's for the finders. It's for everyone who are on this path. So I'm very happy to introduce Sahayak to you guys, and let's hear it. But before we go into all the juicy stuff, can you tell a little bit about what is awakening? How do you see it? What is it for you?
It's a very good question. And it's a very big subject. But I think it's most easily understood from the poems I'll share with you. It's a very difficult thing to put into some sort of mental context, for me at least. The poems basically say it all. So if you can accept that, then it'll become obvious what it is as we continue in this conversation.
Wonderful. Okay. So can you tell a little bit how these poems came through? Were you always interested in writing, or it just happened?
Well, it's an interesting question. I am a disciple of the spiritual master Sri Chinmoy, and many years ago, Guru had been inspired to write a lot of poetry. He'd written hundreds of thousands of poems, but there was one series of poems that he was writing, and he was looking for some inspiration. So he asked all the disciples if anybody had any inspiration, would they like to share that with him?
Mm.
So part of my meditations for quite a few months, when I used to wake in the morning early, all these words just started appearing. So I would sit at the computer, and they were like two or three line little aphorisms about spirituality, about spiritual life, about God, all sorts of different things. And they just kept coming, like easily 100 every time I'd sit down. And I'd be quickly typing them. So that was kind of the beginning of it. But also when I was accepted as a disciple, one of the things I found a little bit overwhelming, actually, in the beginning, because Guru has achieved so much in his life, and I'm just a humble Western seeker. How do I actually get a foothold into this extraordinary path? Where's my doorway into this? And I noticed, because of the poems that Guru had written, it was poetry that melted my heart. That was the focus. And I would read every day his poetry, and I would meditate on what those poems meant for me. And that was the basis and the beginning of that connection with poetry. And then I compiled a lot of Guru's poetry and we had a book published through a major publishing house, and that was nearly 20 years ago now, and that book's still being reprinted, which is lovely. So that's kind of the background to it all. And now, for some reason, the poems are back again. They weren't there for many years. I mean, the meditations were continuing. My spiritual practice moved from Australia to Thailand, where I'm living. But then about a year ago, the poems came back. So that's what I'll be sharing today.
Oh, so interesting. Did you write anything this morning?
I did. The first two poems, actually. And they come at different times. There's no rhyme or reason. All of a sudden, there'll be one or two words that just come. And they don't come from a mental thinking process. They just come from a moment of inspiration. And those words, it could be just a single word. It could be a couple of words. It could be a line or two lines. And wherever I am, I just stop and I jot them down, because if I don't, they've gone. They may never come back. So, and then during the course of the day or days, they evolve. And some of the poems that I wrote 3 or 4 months ago, I've gone back and I've changed them because there's another level of conscious awareness around the theme of that poem. So it's an ongoing, flowing representation of the shifts in my own personal consciousness, in the shift from duality to non-duality, the shift to what and as you asked, the shift to my present awakening shared through these poems.
Sounds like you tuned into some very interesting frequency, very interesting station beyond the mind and beyond the ordinary.
Being a disciple of a spiritual master, there's always that connection. There's always behind the scenes. There's always behind whatever's going on in your life. There's always that thread of connection, and that is a timeless thing. So the more that I'm surrendered, because I'm in an environment, living where I do, where I don't have any mental activity. I mean, I've basically been silent for 8 years. My wife is a devout Buddhist, but she's as quiet as a church mouse. So, we have a very simple, very loving, honest, open relationship. And it means that I have all the space in the world. I'm not caught up in any of the Western, the backwards and forwards in conversations and the things that I actually left Australia because I just found it so hard to have some really deep, meaningful connection on the level that I was. Not to say that there's nothing special about me at all. It's just that I needed a space of absolute silence as best as I could find that. And here I've got that. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. This is on my personal Sahayak's Facebook page, but then I'm going to switch over to the Facebook page. Now, just from the outset, I have very, very little contact with anything to do with social media. I used to be heavily involved in it once because I was marketing and selling things and but now it's primarily just for the aphorisms. But this is the introduction on my personal page for those people who may be looking for me or curious as to what I'm now doing in my life. So I'm just reading now. The inspiration for now is to continue posting freshly inspired insights on the Facebook page, Insights for Harmony. These aphorisms introduce a view of the world which is very different to that held by many people. This may serve a purpose in shattering preconceived concepts and beliefs, but an entirely new perspective and response in an evolving universe of the heart and mind, which through generations of deep self-inquiry. Over the last 8 years since living in Thailand, there's been a love affair focusing on the development of an organic food forest, along with deepening self-inquiry, silence, meditation, and reading the great spiritual texts. It would seem that now is the time again to share that which flows, the jotting down of aphorisms that come through silent practice. I'm surrendered as always to that which points to the truth. If you find something for deeper reflection or fresh inspiration, then these humble sharings from a monk living in the northeast of Thailand would seem through their presence to have blossomed in the heart of the reader. And for that, I offer my love for continuing growth and joy. Please share if you feel inspired. I am deeply humbled by all that flows in consciousness, for what it brings in ways of contentment, joy, love, wonder, peace, and ease. Blessings to all, Sahayak. These, just to say again, these are my own personal insights. These insights which just materialize. Sometimes when I'm walking in the mornings, my exercise regime in the mornings, there'll be one or two words appear. That'll be the basis for an aphorism. It may not be, it may not go anywhere, but most of the insights that I'm sharing have come spontaneously into my awareness at different times in different places. We could be driving, we could be having breakfast, I could be showering, and whatever it is, they just come. And I feel obliged to share with them because it's, I guess, my way of honoring the divine flow which is coming into my life. And it's, if someone finds inspiration from them, then so be it. I'm not doing it to make a big deal of it. It's just here as a record, like a journal of my own journey. So, shall we begin?
Let's begin.
Yes. These first two came today. Mm-hmm. Why, I don't know, but they did.
Especially for this.
No one. Yes, especially for the, exactly. To know oneself as that which never existed is the light of God's formless and eternal soul presence. You are the object of your quest. That's next one. I've accompanied each of these with just a lovely photograph of nature somewhere. I used to be a landscape photographer, so imagery is one of the senses which I find very connecting to the soul journey, to the awakening process. God used to be such a mystery. Now God simply is. That seems very simplified, but there's so much truth in the simplicity of this. We can spend so much time, as I have done, buried in deep in text, reading, meditating, and for some reason, this simple aphorism, God used to be such a mystery, now God simply is. That now God simply is embraces almost my entire spiritual life in the understanding, finally, the clarity and understanding that God simply is. And that is actually the end of the conversation. Mind will have all sorts of difficulty understanding this because mind cannot comprehend the simplicity of this statement. Now, when I say that, this is mind of non-duality will embrace this fully. Mind of duality will be so perplexed by this and will want to keep asking questions. But I feel that I have or am transcending duality into non-duality every single day. And this particular simple little aphorism just embraces so much of my journey today. I should say that I would like to just quote one little aphorism, which is not mine, which also reinforces the whole journey. And this is from St. Francis of Assisi, the great Catholic mystic priest who established the Benedictine order of monks. And this famous saying of his is, what you are looking for is where you are looking from.
And yes, it's so deep. And I thought about this since you shared it last time. So what is your interpretation or this, what you are looking from? How do you see that?
Everything's from the heart.
Uh-huh.
We're looking from the heart because in duality, we tend to be looking external of ourselves all the time. We're always looking outside ourselves. We're always looking for some object of attraction, some sense object, some excitement, something, whatever it is. It's always mostly outer, outer, outer. But this turns everything back, saying what you're looking for is where you're looking from, is that the essence of what you're looking for is not outward, it's actually inward. You are the source of what you're looking for. And the only way that I know of, unless by grace there's a shift in consciousness and people come to this awakening very quickly, the only way I believe that you come to this natural process of shifting consciousness is through self-inquiry, is through meditation. And everything is based, and as non-duality talks about, the combination, the merging of the higher mind and the heart. When those two come together, then that is non-duality. There's no separate other. There is just oneness. And that this next poem, the pure heart, a pure heart, is the light of presence. God as one, as all, in all. Now, it takes some level of inner reflection, inner self-inquiry, to begin to realize that what we're seeing in the outer world, what we're interacting with continuously in the outer world, or supposed outer world, is actually God. Everything is that God consciousness. Now, it may not be that God is the word that sits most comfortably with you. It could be Atman, it could be Brahma, it could be Buddha, it could be higher consciousness, whatever word it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever touches you at that deepest level is what's relevant for you. And I had difficulty when I was compiling the poems for the book, Sri Chinmoy's Heart Garden, the book that was published. I kept clear of all of the aphorisms that had the word God, because I didn't fully understand what God was. I knew what my heart was. I knew what the love and the essence of my being was through the selfless service and the compassion in all of the projects that Guru had us working on. But I just never at that point, as a very young disciple, I never at that point fully embraced God. But now I'm completely with it. As these aphorisms will show, I'm very, very comfortable in using the word God. A pure heart is the light of presence. Pure heart is the light of God's presence. God as one, as all, in all.
That's so succinctly said. Thank you.
I mean, sometimes it's as though we need a pointer. We need a pointer in such clarity and such wisdom that comes from a plainer, higher consciousness that it just rings a bell. It's like unlocking a door. It's like, oh my goodness, that is so simple in its truth and so profound in the way that it touches my heart, that it clears so much of the mind fog away, and I can actually see and feel the truth. And you may not understand it all. I certainly don't fully understand everything yet, but I'm putting down what the moment calls for in the understanding at that time. And I know that if I don't fully understand it yet, I will come to fully embrace it and have that shift in consciousness. So it's a beautiful, beautiful journey. This next one, oh my heart.
Can I touch on something? Well, you said that the higher mind merges with the heart. When you say higher mind, what do you mean? What is that?
The God mind, the pure mind, the mind that is uncluttered. I mean, these are terminologies, but if you can understand it in a very simplistic way, the higher mind and the lower mind. The lower mind you're often referred to as limited mind. Limited mind is ego mind. Limited mind is the sense of self-identity. I am the person. I have a responsibility. I have a role. I am the doer. I have an attachment to my identity. That is lower ego mind.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, we all have it in some degree. Some people, obviously, you'll know, have a huge ego, right? Now, the pure mind, the higher mind, which is not associated so much with the limiting aspect of the ego sense of separateness, when that higher mind, and what happens is that the ego mind becomes transformed. It becomes into the, it's almost like the higher mind and the lower mind come together. And this is what the lower mind or the limited mind is always actually wanting. It's always been searching for that connection to something higher, but it does it through the ego. And of course, when it's done through the ego, it never ever works, because the ego is always about separation. It's always about a difference between this and that. It's always body mind orientated. It's always time orientated. So while we're held in this place of duality, which is the limited mind, we get glimpses of the higher mind. We get glimpses of the compassion of our self-giving hearts, but the full presence of the shift of the higher mind and limited mind coming together, they come together in the heart. And when that happens, there's no separation. There's no ego identity. It completely just dissolves. And that's the fullness of the God conscious presence that we all have. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
All right. So, oh my heart, it is you who I've been, sorry, it is you who has been waiting so patiently. The distractions are seen, the mind's illusions are no more. I can at last be fully in your loving presence. Oh my heart, heart of light, I bow, I bow. Now, there's a presence of awareness that comes. It's not only through being a disciple of a spiritual master. There's a presence of understanding what surrender is, and this is very much something that the ego has to overcome. The ego will resist the surrender of the self to the higher self, the lower mind to the higher mind. So a surrendered heart is one that is in full trust of the pointing of the heart. There's never a question. So as a young disciple, I remember going through the stages of understanding what surrender was. It could be financial surrender. It could be physical surrender. Oh, I don't feel like doing that. Everyone, oh, no, come on. You know, I'm a mature person. Why should I be, you know, all these little things that ego loves to do. Okay. So when all of those little barriers, resistances break down, then you're completely surrendered. And that surrender is the blossoming of the heart. It's like a lotus flower opening, and all the fragrance and the beauty of the lotus flower is fully present in service to mankind. There aren't any resistances. There aren't anything that's, you know, no worry, no fear, no doubt, no insecurity. You are fully present in the moment, in the grace of presence to serve, to be joy, to be happy, to be spontaneous, to be self-giving, to appreciate everything, which is everything in the now moment. Be present now. Okay. The next one. The presence of the absolute being is the reality of the one essence of all that exists, the source of all, the eternally present being of the ultimate truth, God. If it doesn't deepen your direct experience of God, then go back to heart's present. For truth will point from the silence there that all is the direct expression of God. So this is calling the seeker back to the heart's present, back to your meditation practice.
I would recognize that as a longing that comes from
Very much so.
within. Yeah, it's
Very
coming
much so.
as like there is something that I need to feel connected to, that love, that presence, the God. It's calling
And
from within.
Yes, the way you say that, Ilona, is the fact that you are all those things you just said. The only thing that's preventing you understanding that fully and being in that higher level of consciousness is that the separate ego mind is still giving you that sense that there is something that you are still seeking. There's something that's missing. There's something that has to be obtained. When you are all of those things that you are seeking, you are all of that. And that's the subtlety of breaking down the duality to non-duality. That's the breaking down of that sense of separateness, of other. Right? And we all grow up with it. I know, we all grow up with it. I did. I was as normal a duality as a Western person you could ever imagine. And it's only now, what is it now? After 30 years of practice, that I'm actually starting to get it.
Somebody will listen and say, what? I'm like 60 years old. I have no time for this.
I'm a bit slow, right? You know, but the blessing is for me that I followed my heart and knew that I had to leave the Western world and come to a country whose faith was Buddhist, for me to have that vibrational presence in that country, in an environment where I've just got a food forest, I'm in the earth every day, I'm planting, I'm picking, I'm eating. That is the opportunity that's given me now the momentum to continue this journey to where I am now. And I've still got a long way to go, but I am so grateful for where I am now. And I look back and I said, my goodness. You know, I remember years ago after a broken relationship, I might have said this in the previous conversation, that I was at my sister's and I was on the floor crying and I said, what is wrong with everybody? Now, that is such an ego thing. What is wrong with everybody? Why can't people? That's the ego talking. What is wrong? It was me. I'm the one. I'm blaming everybody else, but I was the problem. Okay. So that's the beauty of the transition. And we all take it in our own way. I mean, life is here to be enjoyed. Enjoy it. Love every moment of it. And along the way, the lessons and the experiences will be had that start to slowly shift the consciousness. Right? And it's a day by day process. It's a second by second process. It's a now by now process.
Why now?
God, the unknowable, all-knowing presence of pure awareness. The unknowable, all-knowing presence of pure awareness. It's so nice to read back through these.
Very sweet.
Each moment of silence is a blessingful gift from the heart of God. There is such a profound shift in awareness the moment the mind falls quiet and calm. Because really, the mind is a sensory organ and it is being bombarded by almost every conceivable thing to try and get its attention, particularly in social media. That is huge. The mind thrives on content. The discipline of leading a conscious life, a meditative life, is that we have to learn, and we will learn, to block all of that and take no notice of it, because all of it is an illusion. It's an illusion just to draw our attention away to something external of ourselves, which reinforces the ego mind, the limited mind. And until we have that epiphany, that moment, which sometimes that's the way it happens in a broken relationship, a death in the family, whatever it is, all of a sudden, oh my God, wow, I see it for what it is now, right? Before, when I said that poem, I see it, the mind illusion. We all come to that point at some point in our life. Knowledge of the world satisfies the mind. Realization of the truth serves humankind.
Oh, that's nice.
See the difference?
That's lovely.
See the difference? One is mind, one is heart. Yeah. I've got a beautiful picture of the Buddha with that one. What mind labels as work heart tirelessly offers in service. Duality of mind will be transcended. Otherwise, how will the loving heart be fully present in service? If there is even the slightest fear, doubt, hesitation, or suspicion from a mind of limitation. Life is not to be one of comparisons, but the full awareness of each life-fulfilling moment. A self-giving heart is inexhaustible, for its source is its own joy. In the presence of heart's grace, finite mind has no other option but to surrender and remain empty in the light of awareness. Peace can never be a condition nor negotiation. Peace is the heart's eternal state of being. This is really relevant. We have a lot of conflict in the world at the moment, increasing. I'll get to one particular aphorism which really outlines that quite clearly. It's quite blunt. I thought, when it was coming through, I'm going, wow, Guru, you want me to be this blunt? And yes. So I'll come to it in a minute. But anyway, we have all these negotiations and so-called, peace treaties and what have you. None of them will work. None of them will be anything lasting. They might last for a few months, 6 months, but they'll break down. Because unless you feel and you have the presence of the heart's peace, everything else is just a mind objective.
Yeah, agenda.
Exactly. So no peace will ever come, not only to global, obviously what we've got at the moment, but even people's personal lives. Unless you find that peace within yourself, that eternal presence within your own being, the mind is the ruler. The mind is the negotiator.
Yeah, it almost seems like the mind found or built itself a throne, sat on it, and decided that I'm going to be the ruler of the universe now. And I know what's right, what's wrong, and how life should happen. And it kind of got engaged in that game so deeply that if you even tell the mind, come on, you're not the ruler of the universe, it's holding on to that throne with like teeth and nails, like I'm not going to let this go.
Exactly. But the ego's fighting. It'll resist, and the ego does resist. It'll put out all the anchors. It'll present the darkest options. It'll bamboozle you in confusion, trying to prevent you moving into that higher plane of consciousness, from limited mind to higher mind. It will do everything it can. And believe me, it will come on really strongly. And I've witnessed it in my own life. But you just have to ignore it and keep working past it. Because sooner or later, it will let go, and it will be transformed in the new light of presence that comes into the heart. Once the heart gets charged with that deeper sense of focus and attention, the ego hasn't got a chance. And the only way to do it is through meditation. I believe through meditation practice every single day. And it doesn't have to be, it's interesting, my meditation practice has changed over the years. I mean, as a disciple, I had my own shrine. I had everything set out, the most beautiful, little environment I had in my rooms. And then years ago, just shortly after Guru passed, Guru said, you don't need your shrine anymore. The world is your shrine. You don't need your personal shrine. The world is the temple. And I can see that in the plants. I can see that in the ground. I can see that and feel that in the hearts of other people. So yeah, the ego will resist. Oh boy, will it resist. And a good way to actually get a sense of how powerful the ego is to do Vipassana, 10 days of silence. That is Vipassana centers all around the world, and it's free. It's 10 days. The first time you go is 10 days. and you really get a clue on just how dominant the mind is. It's a really good way to start the process of inquiry when you go, my goodness, I can't believe my mind has been ruling everything in my life. It's really, anyway. Knowledge mind acquires, happiness the heart eternally is.
Yeah, like taking and giving.
Exactly. And that's where, Ilona, that's where we're all happiest.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where the truth, and that's what my name means. Sahayak means guru server, God server, because I've always known that I'm happiest when I'm helping other people, and not helping from an egoic point of view, but in service to other people. It's the natural presence that we are very self-giving naturally, and compassionate and kind. When the ego comes in here, it wants to push everything separate. I'm in control. You are over there, right? There's the separation. You are there. I am here. They are different to us. They are different color. They have a different religion, right? Oh, what are they eating that for? Oh, I would never do that. So all these little separations come in, and that's part of the conditioning that we have to overcome.
Wow.
There is no need to consciously choose yes or no. Now is the eternal presence of God, the heart of being and awareness. Be still. Trust and surrender to the wisdom which silently guides from the heart of now. For you and God are one. I'll read that again.
Yeah, I'll read it
There is
again
no
and
need.
let's sit with this a little bit.
Yeah. There is no need to consciously choose yes or no. Now is the eternal presence of God, the heart of being and awareness. Be still. Trust and surrender to the wisdom which silently guides from the heart of now. For you and God are one. Live the happiness of your awareness, which is happiness itself. There are no regrets in non-duality, as there is no past or future, only now. When seen through the presence of the heart, there is no one there, as there is no person, no existence, only awareness. It's a funny thing to realize, and until you're actually challenged through your own self-inquiry, we've grown up with the assumption that we're people, that we're a person. But what is a person? It's just a name. Do any of us have any direct experience of being a person? Can I say that I know me as me, and these are my likes, but what is this person thing? It's kind of a label that's put on everybody. And we learn that through self-inquiry and the non-duality process, that what we've come to be conditioned by is actually an illusion. It's an illusion that's generated by a global economy, by personal agendas, by government decrees, whatever, by religious. It goes right back. Where in essence, all we are is God essence. We are awareness itself in the human form, in this body, in this temporary vessel, to experience what we can. And in that experiencing, hopefully, the lessons that we will learn will shift the limiting mind to the higher mind, to come back to the essence and the stability and the compassion and self-giving of the heart of awareness, the heart of God. This one is very direct, and I make no apologies for it, but this is the way it came, but it's actually the truth. It's almost like an aha moment, I feel, anyway. The ramifications in the belief of being an apparent separate person, individual self, living in a separate world with a separate God and faith, can be the cause of some of the most emotionally charged religious persecutions, social and cultural divides, and the cause generally of challenging, stressful, destabilizing, disconnected, antisocial, self-centered, insecure, and irresponsible behaviours through the actions of attitudes of individuals impacting the degradation and exploitation of the earth, along with a collapse in conscious awareness, social cohesion, stable relationships, self-giving, confidence, acceptance, patience, personal well-being, harmony, respect, understanding, happiness, peace, and unity.
That kind of sums up the game, the rules of the game.
Exactly.
Like we are coming here in this environment, in this lower mind created social system.
Yep.
And our job is to remember to come back to the unity.
Exactly.
To remember what we are.
Exactly.
To end this game.
Yep, that's right. And that's the beauty of this journey. And it just became so obvious to me, Ilona, you know, coming from a very much a duality awareness, coming into now the non-duality awareness, the shift in my own personal happiness and contentment and just the simplicity. There's all this weight just comes off your shoulder and you are just present in the now. There's no going back or forward or this or maybes, or it's just everything is right now, now. And it takes away all the personal conflicts and the emotions, all of the things which are causing disharmony. Everything is right here now. The joy of living right now.
Wait.
Nothing to win. Sorry, go on.
I say sweet. It's the sweet spot.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think the difficulty is how to abide in this sweet spot.
we are the sweet spot.
Yes, we are the sweet spot. And then there is this difficulty that says, I need to abide in it. I need to stay there permanently. And that there is this seeking of how to get there, how to become.
When you are already there.
Yeah.
You are fully there right now.
Right.
It's just that the ego self will see you, and you're conditioned by it as being separate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to win, nothing to lose. Be still. You have always been. Awareness you are. Infinity is your beingness. Free, beyond all things, confined no longer by the illusion of I. The heart of knowing, the being of presence, reigns supreme by the light of grace in the freedom of eternity. In the transcendence of the limited finite you is the blossoming heart presence of pure self-awareness itself. All arises in and through the spirit of the divine infinite I, God, ever-present awareness. So we have the limited I, which is limited mind, I, the individual, and then we have the transcendent I, which is I of God awareness. A pure heart is the loving presence of God awareness. That awareness is eternally for and in all. Creation is a reflection of God. That same reflection is heart's self-aware presence. The mind of the individual separate self can be controlling, needy, and expecting. Its conditioned belief in its own identity is that which separates it from the heart of conscious presence and awareness. Separate self looks for validation and love. Its insecurity seeks praise, acceptance, and reassuring. The separate self can experience loneliness, fear, depression, anxiety, and confusion. Addictions, violence, behavior issues, and suicide can be the consequences.
So, what to do with this limited mind?
Transcend the ego mind.
How?
daily meditation practice.
Okay.
That's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
That's all it takes. It's deep self-inquiry,
Mhm.
and avail yourself of the great texts, the spiritual, the great books written by the great masters. It's all there. They explain it so easily and so beautifully, and so simply and so directly. The great yogis and the rishis. These people have lineages of thousands of years of wisdom, and it's not just the Indian traditions. It's also the great Islamic mystics. I mean, Rumi and the likes of his contemporaries, extraordinarily profound insights. And they're all in the base of non-duality. They're not saying Christ is something separate, or God is something separate, or Allah is something separate. Allah is in the heart of all of us. Buddha is in the heart of all of us. We are the heart of Buddha and Krishna, and it's just practice, Ilona. It's just the inner cry, and it just comes through grace. Oftentimes it can be grace. There can be some sort of like divine energy that just comes into your awareness that you say, no, it's now time. It's now time. I've really got to start. I mean, I'm 72. I'm not saying that's old. It's not old at all, but I couldn't be in a happier place than I am now, because if it is that I am to transcend into my next incarnation, I'm so grateful that I am where I am at the moment, rather than one caught in doubt and frustration in an ego mind. So very, very grateful. Yeah. Mind resistance is futile. Pride has no place in the heart of conscious awareness. Be the calm witness of all. Nothing leaves a ripple in the serenity of God's awareness.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. Nothing
You
leaves.
could meditate. You could go back and you could meditate on each of these, just like I did with gurus. I spent 7 years reading and compiling and meditating on gurus' aphorisms. That was the basis of my whole spiritual life, apart from all the external manifestations and self-giving and selfless service that we did around the world. Without that heart connect, Guru was very much of the heart. Guru rarely spoke about the mind. It was always about the heart, always about the heart. And now I realize the Guru was always about non-duality, but never said it, never used those words, never.
How interesting.
Isn't it interesting? I know. We will come to realize that we are all the one self, self of infinite pure awareness, our essential nature, our self-aware being, the eternal presence of God.
So what I hear you saying is that to overcome or to transcend this limited mind, one can dive in and surround oneself with this wisdom, with the pure poetry from the beyond, with a beautiful place where you can be yourself undisturbed and really dive into that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And somehow this limited mind recognizes eventually that this is what you want. Exactly. And that's when it surrenders.
Exactly.
Because otherwise.
And that's the beauty, Ilona. That's a surrender in knowing that now there needs to be a focus. I'm being called. There's something that's really pointing me towards something which I feel is going to bring so much potential into my life. I don't fully understand it yet, but the pull is so strong. And these words are touching me in such a beautiful way. I need to know that I can dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And the beauty of it is that you have the consciousness of all these incredible transcendent masters whose presence is here now. And as the Guru used to say, you take one step towards God, God will come running towards you. If you take one moment and commit and say, okay, now I'm going to do this. This is going to be my new routine during the day. I'm now going to give myself, say, in the morning, 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening before I go to bed to meditate. I'm now going to spend time reading the great spiritual texts. And slowly by slowly, everything becomes a meditation. everything becomes a state of presence of heart awareness. And in that state of conscious awareness, then you are the living embodiment of that conscious awareness, the God essence within yourself. And interestingly enough, all of those little moments in life which come together synchronistically to support the journey all just start appearing out of nowhere. It's like all these angels say, okay, Ilona's time. Let's do it, guys. Let's get together. We're going to support her. And they all come, and all these little shifts in energy start to come. It's absolutely, it's the most beautiful. And it's, you know, we use the word journey. There's no journey because you're already there. But if you want to use the tradition, okay, it's a journey or it's a path. It's the pathless path. It's the journeyless journey. There's no other destination because you are the destination. And it will trigger, and it will trigger again and again and again.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think this video is worth watching a few times and stopping and reflecting, meditating on these beautiful messages from beyond.
Okay. All that arises with the thought I as a separate personal identity is the limited separate self. The separate self is the one of individualism, of self-interest in the material world. What motivates the separate self is that of personal achievement, value, desire, of purpose, and attention, so is bound by attachments to outcomes and recognition. The separate self forgets because of its surrender to the temptations and distractions of the outer finite world. It forgets its origins of inclusiveness and selflessness, of its very source, the pure self-awareness of being.
I'd like to share a poem I came through once, like only one poem came through. And it's a poem about silence.
Okay.
I wrote a poem about silence, but silence ate all words.
Are you going to read that poem?
That's it. I wrote a poem about silence, but silence
say it again. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, do it again.
I wrote a poem about silence, but silence ate all words.
You see? See how beautiful that is? So simple. And that's the beauty of it all. Mind would have everything be so complicated and so dramatic and so this and that. It's so simple.
So thank you so much for your wisdom, for your light, for your presence, and from the words that came through to everyone who is open to receive them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ilona. So all of this, as I said, is on the Facebook site, Insights for Harmony. So anyone can scroll through and have a read. And if it is you don't quite understand the meaning of it, that's okay. There's a lot of things I read of gurus when I had no idea what it meant. But then gradually, as consciousness shifted, okay, I understand. I feel that.
So let these words, let these poems be like water for your inner lotus. Like it needs a little bit of water, just giving it nourishment.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Such a joy to share with you, to be with you. Thank you.
Same. All right. Thank you.
Bye for now. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time. Bye.